Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my fully interactive Facebook Live with the wedding guru Oscar. This evening, I am bringing to you an outstanding collection of mine, wedding artwork by Daria, a fantastic collection of mine, wedding stationery and wedding artwork supplier that I've been working with on a few projects for a while already. I'll do a full introduction of our guest speaker in just a moment. So if you're looking for inspiration on wedding stationery, advice on wedding stationery, any inspiration at all about any wedding artwork, getting muddled up there, then we've got just the right person for you this evening to present some of our ideas and exciting prospects for wedding stationery. A stationery that is beautiful, handcrafted, and absolutely outstanding. Daria has actually created a portrait for George and I when we got married, a beautiful portrait which actually features in our hallway as our guests arrive to the house. So I'm very proud to have it presented in my house. Before we get started, I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping rules, as I can see that some of you are still clicking on, and I want to make sure that there's plenty of us here for Daria to answer your questions today. So first of all, we are currently going live on my Facebook page, The Wedding Guru Oscar. We're also live in my Facebook group, the fully interactive Facebook Lives with The Wedding Guru Oscar. And finally, we're also live today on YouTube. So if you're joining us on any of these platforms, make sure you pop your name in the comment box below. Say hello, tell us where you're joining us from. It would be great to learn a little bit about you guys as well, and that way we can make it a little bit more interactive. Because we're going live on so many platforms today, I am using a streaming software called StreamYard, meaning that when you are posting your comments, you need to make sure, especially if you're on Facebook, to follow the little link, which is either right above my head here, or in mobiles, it will be right down below here, to make sure that you give StreamYard permission to share your name up on the screen as well. As we're going through this session, your questions are highly encouraged, and we are looking to be answering plenty of them live for you today. It's your one-off opportunity to ask questions of our expert guest speaker today, as Daria has put together a wonderful session for you today, and this is a one-off opportunity for you to make advantage of this opportunity. If you are joining us on repeat, make sure you hashtag repeat. That way Daria and I can come back to any questions you might have after the sessions have finished, because all the videos will be available on my Facebook page, in the group, and also on my YouTube channel as well. So don't be shy to do that as well. Like I said, for you guys, those of you who have just joined us, make sure you say hi, tell us where you're coming from, tell us your name in the comment box below. We would love to learn a little bit from you. It could be just as little as a little love heart emoji in the comment box below as well. And like I said, we will have plenty of opportunity for you to ask questions of our outstanding guest speaker today. So make sure you use that time. Pop your questions in the comment box below. There will be an official open Q&A at the end of the session, so if there's any questions you would like to leave to the end, you're more than welcome to do that as well. But as we're going through the questions and you don't want to miss out on the opportunity, feel free to pop them in the comment box below, and I will be stopping and asking questions from Daria as well. One thing that I always forget to say to you guys, I've got a little free giveaway, a free guide available for yourselves, which will be available right at the end of this session today. So stay with us till the end, and there'll be something for you to take away from the session today as well. So without further ado, I will start our session right now. You are here to obviously hear from our guest speaker. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about the structure of our interview today. So firstly, there will be an introduction. I will tell you a little bit about myself and Daria in just a moment. We will then go into the official interview, and like I said at the beginning, we will have an open Q&A for you at the end as well. So make sure you've got plenty of questions for Daria as well. In addition to that, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Oscar. I am the wedding guru Oscar. I started my independent wedding planning business back in December 2019, and it's been a dream ever since. I have actually been involved before that with the wedding industry for over a decade, starting back in 2009, for the first 4.5 years of my career, I looked after wedding couples operationally, delivering and running weddings on the day, looking after couples from the moment of arrival through their entire day until they headed to their beds as well. After 4.5 years, I landed my first wedding planning opportunity, and after that, I landed a wonderful managerial wedding planning opportunity with a portfolio of 3 luxury city centre venues in Edinburgh city centre, and I looked there after over 130 weddings at these 3 properties, which was absolutely fantastic. And I worked with some incredible wedding coordinators and wedding suppliers and also wedding planners throughout the country as well. Recently, I've contributed to publications with Smash the Glass, which is the biggest Jewish wedding blog, and also Love My Dress, which is the biggest wedding blog in the world as well. Over the years, contributing to Scottish Wedding Directory magazines and editorials, Tie the Knot Scotland, Luxury Scottish Wedding, and My Scotland Wedding as well. I've been very fortunate over the years to have been recognised by Scottish Vows Awards and Scottish Hotel Awards with 4 awards for my work to the wedding industry, thanks to wonderful wedding planning couples who have nominated me for these awards as well. But enough about me, guys. I'm here to introduce you to our wonderful guest speaker. So I'm just going to bring up Daria to the screen right now. Hello, Daria. Good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us today. So glad to have you with us. Absolutely fantastic that you could join us. Thank you again for being here. I'm just going to say a couple of hellos before we get started. We've got Doggy joining us from Derby. Good evening, Doggy. Good to see you. You've got so many fantastic questions every time, so good to have you with us as well. And we've got Catherine from White House Flowers. It was great to meet you at the George all those years ago. It's been great working with all fantastic suppliers that I work with to this day. And that's why I'm introducing these fantastic suppliers to you guys, because I know of the fact how well they're working with wedding couples and how reliable and loyal they are as well. So it gives me pleasure to be bringing these wonderful suppliers to you every week. But enough about the introductions. Daria, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, how Wedding Artwork by Daria started? Just a little introduction if you could.
Sure. Hi, Oscar. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure. And thank you for such a wonderful, warm welcome. It was really nice to hear about the portrait I drew for you and your husband and about how it's featured in your hallway. Yep. So, yeah, my name is Daria, and I'm a wedding stationery designer and illustrator. And with many years of experience as a graphic designer and artist under my belt, I decided to create wedding artwork where I offer beautiful hand-painted wedding stationery for my couples. And the idea for wedding artwork was born shortly after my engagement, which happened in what I think is one of the most beautiful places on earth, although I'm sure many brides would say that about their engagements. It was Monument Valley National Park in the US, while horse riding at sunset. So I was so happy and excited that I couldn't wait to start planning our wedding. And I'm sure all the future brides will know what I'm talking about. And I would say that most brides will probably start planning their wedding with choosing a dress and their venue. But since my background is graphic design and illustration, I was obviously really excited about creating beautiful invitations for us. And so that's what I started researching. And we set our minds on a beautiful venue in Holland. And just for fun, I started drawing that venue because I thought we could frame it, put it up on our wall in the living room, and it would remind us about the wonderful day to come. So that was quite nice, and I had this idea that it would be lovely to feature that drawing on our stationery, invitations and all the on-the-day stationery. And so I really enjoyed that whole process, and the result was really great. So that's when I realized that it's the little thoughtful touches like that that really make that wedding planning process that much more special and personal, and also obviously the wedding day itself as well. And since I am based in Scotland, I soon realized that obviously this is the country with the most stunning wedding venues. So the thought of helping other couples and make their day more unique and personal inspired me to start wedding artwork.
That's fantastic. That's such an inspirational story, Daria. I think it just speaks volume when you start planning your own wedding and then a business idea starts from it. And clearly you've got passion for it. Clearly you're pouring your heart into it. It means so much to you. And like I said, when we got the portrait from you, it arrived in the beautiful envelope. We opened it up and put it up in the hallway. It features there, and we're very proud about it. And it's those. You can have photographs, you can have other things, but having handcrafted artwork in your house from your wedding, from those special moments and occasions is absolutely fantastic. So wow, that's quite a story. I didn't know all the kind of ins and outs you've mentioned before, obviously about the engagements and stuff like that, but it's been great to learn about it all. And I'm sure it resonates with a lot of our wedding planning couples. I suppose it's easier to connect with a lot of suppliers when they've been through the process and they understand what wedding planning is like. Am I right in saying that your wedding was postponed as well?
Yes, it was. We were due to get married in May, and now we have a new date, which is quite soon, and I'm really excited. But yes, we were unfortunately affected by all the lockdowns.
That's what I thought. So again, guys, if you've got any questions about how Daria is managed with this and any stationery related questions, make sure you pop them in the comment box below. She's just the right person for yourselves. She's been through the process and she's got some fantastic products for you today as well. As we're going through the session, the more questions we've got, the more informative we can make the session for yourselves. So I highly encourage questions through that as well. We've actually got a question for you, Darius. So I'm just going to bring it up on the screen. There is a guest asking, do you do bespoke designs?
Yes, I do mostly bespoke designs. Almost all of my work is bespoke. So yeah, I always like to ask my couples questions about how they met, what's their most precious place, and maybe where they got engaged. And obviously I ask about the wedding theme, wedding colors, and the preferred style for the stationery. Perhaps it's rustic, maybe it's something more classy. So I always design specifically for my couples.
That's amazing. And you can tell a lot of the photos that I'm observing, you do quite a lot of activity on social media, which is great to see because we get the insight into what you do and how you work as well. But everything is handcrafted and the finish on it is absolutely beautiful. We've actually worked with Daria on producing some backdrops to the images today for you guys. So everything you see up on the screen behind Daria in the photos just now is actually her handmade artwork up on the screen as well. So if you're looking for some inspiration, something very high-end, polished and finished, you've got some ideas up on the screen as well. And I'm sure Daria would be more than happy to answer any questions about that with you guys as well. Okie dokie, perfect. We're going to move on to the next question. And this is a big question. So Daria, could you tell us what makes your business unique?
Sure. Well, I would say that in a way, everything I create for my couples is unique and handcrafted, as you said. And I make sure that every single piece is made with love and care. And I always try to capture the essence of what is really important for the couples. And I create fitting designs and artwork incorporating their venue. And I very often draw artwork of venues, which is then featured on the invitations and other stationery. Also their color scheme, sometimes some special symbolism and style. And all the illustrations I use are original artwork. They are hand-drawn or or hand-painted for them. And I would say that the way I work is very personal, which I find that it's one of the things that my couples love the most. They really appreciate the thoughtful touches and the one-on-one contact and responsiveness, and my advice throughout the process, and of course the teamwork. And so I would say that my business is for those kind of couples who really want something different for their wedding. And wedding invitations, I would say, is where the whole wedding journey starts for your guests.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, even looking at the paper that you're using here, I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see it up on the screen, but it's the very high-end finish to all the stationery that you do, and so much attention to it. But it's actually quite interesting what you've said is you're working with couples on making sure that things are exactly the way they want to have them. So I'm assuming in the process you're having several conversations with couples. Is there, would you create like a draft to begin with and then kind of follow on final design? Is that how it kind of works?
Yes. So in most instances, I create like a design proposal for my couples once they book in. But sometimes I do create a proposal even before the booking takes place, because some projects are just so exciting that I can't wait to try something out just to see how it will look. And then obviously once the couple sees it, the response is great, and I'm kind of confident that we can together create something really special and unique.
Absolutely amazing. That's wonderful. It's good to see that obviously there's a relationship. It's not just about a design work, email with the design work or a print. You've got good relationship with couples as well. Perfect. Okie dokie. We've got questions from our audience. I'm actually going to bring one of the questions from Doggy. Doggy is always very proactive with questions, which I love because he's in the industry. He understands the industry. He speaks to couples. I absolutely love Doggy that he asks questions. The more, the merrier. Absolutely highly encouraging them as well. So when you're working with couples on their design, are they and they're having a Scottish wedding, kilt and all, how do you weave tartan into the designs? Oh, interesting question.
Good question. Thank you. From the top of my head, I can think of two ways which I've done in the past, and one of them is probably quite obvious, and it's a tartan ribbon. So, for example, you could have a gatefold design like this one.
I'll bring you up on the screen. Give me 1 second.
Where in a design like this, instead of the wax seal, for example, you could have a beautiful tartan ribbon. And I'm also working with a couple who has two kind of tartans in their families. And what I came up with for them is that on the inside of the gatefold, I've got two different tartans on the sides, which that was another way of incorporating it into the stationery.
Amazing. That's absolutely fantastic. Interesting question, Doggy. I really like that question actually because it's so unusual about obviously making sure that tartan appears in wedding stationery. I didn't even comprehend how that could work. So that's a brilliant question. Thank you very much, Daria, for answering that for Doggy. There's a question that might be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to pop it up on the screen. I think it's very on trend actually, but it might be a bit controversial. So, will stationery still be as important post-COVID?
Yeah, I think so. I don't see why not, to be honest. In a way, I think if anything, it could even be more important because it's about keeping your guests up to date with what's happening, and you could obviously include all the information in the stationery, in the invitations, and the extra details cards as well. You could have a website which you can also update and inform your guests about anything that's happening. And the website is often part of stationery. For example, I could create a website for my couples, which is matching their printed stationery. So that's like a nice design theme going kind of making sure that everything ties in together nicely.
Oh my God, that's of course, because you're a graphic designer, you can design websites as well. I think that was one of the things that I've seen a lot of couples kind of swaying towards wedding websites and stuff like that. But it's still quite nice having a physical invitations. I mean, when George and I were getting married 3 years ago now, and the time has flown, obviously, we had physical invitations as well, and then there was a link to a website which had like a lot of information there, which is absolutely fantastic. But we still wanted to have for our guests to still have that physical invitation. We had parts of it handwritten ourselves as well. And obviously, table stationery, you will never replace that. That will always be there for weddings as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect, wonderful. We've got a question from Doggy, another question before we move on to the official questions, and it's a good question as well. Is there a trend or for types of paper, FCA accredited, etc.?
Well, I think there are two main trends for paper, and one of them is kind of uncoated textured paper, which has a very elegant high-end feel to it and look. And well, I do have a lot of examples here. I would love to show you some things, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure how clear it will be on the screen. So yeah, there's so many types of paper, and I would say the most trendy one is actually this, which is kind of pearlescent. It has this, sorry, I can't show you, but it has this nice...
You can see the sheen on it.
Yeah, it has this nice shine to it, and oh, you can see it there. So this is one of my most popular papers, and then you've got uncoated textured paper. I'm sorry, you can't really see it that well, but it has a texture, and there are various types of texture, which kind of look like linen or maybe like hammered paper, handmade kind of style. So yeah, I would say these two are the most trendy at the moment.
Perfect. I think we've got one on the screen just now. You can just see little lines. It's kind of like linen style, like you've explained before, on the screen. In the first card that you've shown, you could see that kind of pearl sheen when you were moving the card. So that's really lovely. Is it difficult printing and writing on the sheen paper?
Yes, that's a good question. Actually, it has some limitations to it. For example, I do like hand painting my designs with gold paint, and that gold paint wouldn't work on coated kind of shiny paper like this one. It only works on uncoated textured paper. So that would be one of the limitations. And then if I were to do hand calligraphy on paper, it would also have to be the uncoated paper.
Okay, perfect. No, that's fantastic. I suppose, yeah, it's good to understand these things when you're planning for wedding stationery, because just like it happens with quite often here, Capos, obviously, one of the things that I've talked about in my blogs recently was about florals. And obviously, you get a bigger choice of florals in the spring, but you don't get as much in the autumn. And I got a request for tulips for a wedding in autumn, and obviously you can source them, but there's obviously limitations to that as well. So it's good to know about stationery as well, that with certain type of paper, there's only certain things you can do with it as well. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Daria. That's brilliant. Okie dokie. And Doggy says both those look amazing. Brilliant way of doing it. I think he's referring to the killed tartan ones. Thank you very much, Doggy. That's great to see. I was impressed as well, so we're all on the same page. Fantastic. Okay. Daria, could you tell us about anything you've been particularly proud of in your career this far?
Yeah, well, I would say that I'm most proud of that I have been able to follow my dreams, and that I have found a business idea that makes me really happy and fulfilled, and in a way that I look forward to growing it day by day, which is really great. And to be honest, I never even dreamt of finding such thing. So it's great to see how my life has changed. And what makes me proud on a day-to-day basis is the wonderful feedback I receive from all my couples, and from receiving their very first draft, the kind of design proposal of the idea and the drawing, through to seeing the final result. I'm always really humbled by the feedback, and the whole process for me is already so enjoyable and so fulfilling, like I said. But the moment when I see the feedback, it just really adds another level to that kind of pride, if I may say.
Oh, perfect. We've got Joanna joining us today as well. Hello, Joanna. Good to see you. Thank you very much for joining. Love Daria's work. Absolutely. We all love Daria's work for sure. Yeah, how many weddings would you normally work with on your kind of average year? Obviously, it's very unusual circumstances, and I suppose you would have probably started at the start of this year. Am I right in saying that?
Yes, it has been an unusual year, although I'm really glad that people do think ahead and plan ahead. I think it's really important with most of the wedding suppliers to kind of get in touch with them months and months in advance. So I have been busy actually because I'm working kind of for next year already, and even in some cases for 2022.
Wow.
But yeah, a lot of my weddings had been postponed to next year, so I think it will be twice as busy. How many? Oh, that's a difficult one. I never really counted it, so I'm not sure how to answer this one.
That's all right. I kind of pulled the question out of a bag, just thinking of on the top of my head. And it's interesting because actually I've seen a statistic earlier today, and the lead time to a wedding is now extended. It used to be between 18 to 24 months, and it's now, I think, shown at a minimum 25 months for those couples that are booking now. So it's a change in trend. So I can see why you're getting referrals and work for 2022, definitely. And I mean, with design and stationery, it takes longer, I can imagine. I always say to my couples, obviously, your save the date cards send out as soon as possible, but your invitations you want to send out about 6 months before the wedding. Is that roughly what you would recommend to couples as well?
Yeah, I would. I think it depends also on what the venue requires from the couples. Sometimes they need to know the final numbers a bit earlier than you'd expect, but I think 6 months is a good number. I would even sometimes maybe advise that it's okay to do even 8, 10, depending whether it's maybe, obviously if it's a destination wedding, if your family lives abroad. But I think 6 months is a good number.
Timeline. Perfect.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Great. We've got another question, and actually kind of refers to what I've just said about the timeline. How long does it take you to design a bespoke wedding logo or venue artwork for stationery?
So it takes usually from a couple to a few weeks.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of different elements involved in that, like gathering all the information from my couples and then sending them some ideas to choose from and then developing one idea. So it really depends. It could be anywhere from a couple of weeks to maybe 4 or 5 weeks, depending on also on the communication with the client and on their preference. And so yeah, I would say around that.
Perfect. No, that's absolutely fantastic. Brilliant. Okie dokie. I think we've got all the questions answered this far, so we're going to move on to the next official question. So you kind of have told us already that you're not married yet, but you're about to be married. So could you give any first-hand advice to couples based on your wedding planning experience this far?
Yes, sure. I hope it's not although it might be quite obvious, but I think I mentioned it earlier, but you can't really start planning your wedding too early. I would say, I'm sorry, that's my dog barking there. Sorry
That's
about
okay.
that. I would say that, start planning your wedding early, because the most sought after suppliers, they get booked up really far in advance. So if you want to have good chances to get the suppliers you really love, you have a better chance if you plan early. And so that's my number one. And also, I think it's quite important to remember about save the dates. Sorry about that.
Bring him in if you want to.
Yeah, I think it should. It's a very small Maltese, but he's really loud, so I'm sorry
Bring him
about
in.
that.
Bring him in if you want to.
Okay, just a second.
Okay, perfect. I love dogs, so that's absolutely fantastic. And I think it's part of the life experience. We're going live and things happen. I've had this before when my laptop was going off because I forgot to plug it in before going live. So, oh, look at him. Gorgeous. Is that a girl, did you say?
No, it's a boy, but
It's a
everyone
boy.
everyone thinks he's a girl. So.
Oh, beautiful. What's his name?
William. We call
William.
him.
Oh, beautiful. That's gorgeous. Fantastic.
Sorry?
Fantastic. Beautiful dog. Absolutely. I think there's many of us watching right now that absolutely love dogs as well. Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Good to meet William. Thank you very much for a guest appearance as well.
I hope you'll be quiet now.
We've got another question for you, Daria. So I think you kind of have covered that, but the question has just popped up on the screen, so I just wanted to bring it up as well. Do you do designs by hand? We'd love to have some digital copies for our wedding website.
That's another great question. Thank you. So yeah, I do start usually by hand, but there are two ways of designing by hand. One is traditional on paper, and one is using a graphics tablet, which is kind of a screen with a special pen where you can, kind of like iPad Pro, but something slightly different, where you can draw by hand but digitally. So I do prefer working on paper, and then I can take a photograph or scan that drawing and make it a digital file, which is that easy to replicate or print. If you want some digital copies as well to use on the website, that's always possible.
Brilliant, fantastic. I think I've seen some of your videos on Instagram before where you were drawing little bricks on a tower or something before. I want to almost say it was Carlowdy Castle or something like that because it looked quite impressive. So, yeah, absolutely beautiful. Perfect. Doggy is actually saying, if it isn't dog gate crushing, it's kids. Yep, it is. We've seen it all before. When lockdown first started, all the kids arriving in the videos, even on BBC. Part of the life video. That's it. Part of the experience. Sure. Fantastic. Okie dokie. So that was a brilliant advice from yourself, Daria. We've got another question for you. Could you tell us of any surprises, anything at all that surprises you in your business, in what you do at the minute, anything at all?
Yeah, I would say that I am really surprised by how much happier I am running my own business and working closely with so many happy people planning their wedding day, and how fulfilling it is. And I am also quite surprised by how early people contact me in relation to their wedding date. I have people contacting me who are getting married 3 years in 3 years. So sometimes the timeline is really surprising. On another hand, I am really surprised by how much work it is to run a wedding business, if I'm honest with you. But I'm sure you know something about that, and a lot of that work happens behind the scenes. So keeping on top of the admin, creating lots of design proposals, taking professional photographs and videos, posting on social media, and while at the same time finding the time to do what really matters, what's really important, which is creating the new work for your couples. So it's much more than I imagined before I started, but I do love every moment of it.
No, absolutely. I think it's something that I have kind of underestimated as well, is the administration side of things, and especially with the power of social media and digital advertising being so strong these days. It's so important, but it's almost like a full-time job in itself. So I think we're all kind of on the same page. But But it's great to be able to do things that we absolutely love and help couples with their plans. It's great to see that you're getting bookings so far out in advance, and especially like you said, because it is such a bespoke and handcrafted trade that you're in, it takes time to execute everything and make sure that it's up to the design brief. So it's good for our couples to know that as well. Fantastic. Perfect. Guys, we've got more questions from yourself. So like I said at the start of the video, we're currently going live on my Facebook page, The Wedding Guru Oscar, and my group, Interactive Facebook Lives with The Wedding Guru Oscar, and also on YouTube. So if you've got any questions for our guest speaker today, our expert guest speaker in wedding stationery and wedding design, make sure you pop them in the comment box below. This is your one-off opportunity to speak to our guest, expert guest speaker, and have your questions answered. Anything, inspiration, questions about what you're planning for your stationery, anything at all. Give us a wee love heart in the comment box below if you're loving what we're talking about so far. It would give us definitely a lot of joy to be helping you guys as well. We've got a question about seals, the wax seals. So the guest here is asking, can you make personalized wax seals for envelopes? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I can, and I love doing it. I think it's such a special way to personalize your stationery further. And the great thing about a personalized wax seal is that you actually get to keep the stamp. Sorry, I'm trying to see if I have one here. Nope. Sorry. So you get to keep the stamp, and you can then once after your wedding, you can use it for example, for Christmas cards or for birthday cards or for gift tags. So I do love personalized wax seals, and you can get them in various shapes and obviously colors. My personal favorite is square wax stamps, which is quite unusual and really original. So yeah, you can get a wax stamp with your wedding monogram, with your initials, and then you can keep it for many, many years after your wedding.
Brilliant. It's quite a nice, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like a souvenir from your wedding that you can reuse. Exactly. And I think especially if it's a monogram, then it's kind of like a family seal almost for your stationery after that. Definitely. I think they're beautiful. So how do you make the seals? Do you have to bespoke order them in, or how does that work?
Yeah, I work with a maker who makes them, and I create the design. I hand draw the monogram, and then I digitalize the drawing, and that's what I send to the maker.
Wow, fantastic! And is it all made in metal?
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah, because you're working with really hot wax. So yeah, it is metal and usually a wooden handle.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. Brilliant. Good to know. Brilliant. Fantastic, guys. Guys, we are nearing the end of our interview. So this is your very final few opportunities to ask questions of our expert guest speaker. I've seen there's quite a few of us in the session just now, so don't be shy. Ask the questions away. We've got final official question. And after that, we're going to move on to the open Q&A. So if you've got any questions and you've kept them to the end, make sure that you ask them right at the end as well. And don't forget that there's a little giveaway, free giveaway for yourselves to take away today at the end of our session. So make sure that you stay with us right to the end today as well. If you're liking everything we're talking about so far, give us a little love heart, a little yes in the comment box below, and fire across any questions. We've got a comment from Doggy saying, I can imagine clan crest wax seals would be amazing gifts for ashers, etc. Good idea. Brilliant advice, Doggy. That's why we like having you in these sessions. Fantastic. Thank you for joining us again. Brilliant. Okie dokie. So I'm going to go ahead and ask my very, very final question for yourself, Daria. So can you think and tell us of one piece of advice you believe all newly engaged couples should be aware of?
Yeah. So on top of the early planning of your wedding, I would say that obviously wedding planning it can be really hard. It can be really there's so many things to remember, to think of, and it's always new for the couple. So I think it's really important to choose the kind of suppliers that will be there for you and will help you with their expert advice, and they offer you support along the way to take that weight off your shoulders. And suppliers like that want you to feel relaxed and confident, knowing that you're in capable hands. So yeah, I would say that's that can really help you along the way, because there's so many little details involved in wedding planning that it's really good to have someone support you.
No, absolutely perfect. Absolutely. I mean, I agree with that, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to start doing these live sessions. Daria was actually one of the guest speakers in my online wedding fairs when I first started in April, and then May I did a couple of online wedding fairs, and then I decided to do a specific exclusive interviews with our suppliers. And all the suppliers that I'm presenting to you guys this far are suppliers that I've been working with for quite a long time, and know they're reliable and know that they're very loyal and dedicated to their trade. So any people that I'm recommending to yourselves in the sessions over the past few weeks and in the future, you can have full confidence in. And especially Daria, I mean, I've got a physical portrait in my hallway. I mean, that's just a testament to the work that she does. We've actually got Dawn from Scottish Wedding Magazine and Event Ace joining us. Hello, sorry I'm late to join, so I'll catch you in a full later. Dawn, no problem, we're not finished yet, so if you've got any questions, fire them across in the comment box below. I know you've got some really good questions hidden there as well, so don't be shy, make sure you pop them in the comment box as well. And thank you for joining us even later. Doesn't matter. I know that people pop in and pop out as and when needed. Fantastic. So that was the official final question for Daria up on the screen just now. Thank you very much for that one. Definitely working with reliable suppliers is super handy, and it takes a lot of the stress away from wedding planning. So if you can work with suppliers that you've got full confidence in, checking them out and making sure that you know who you're working with is super important. And the suppliers I am recommending to yourselves are all of the highest quality as well. So I'm opening the open Q&A to yourselves, guys, up on the screen just now. I've got a question actually popped in just a moment ago. It's a question about stationery fonts. What fonts are popular right now?
I would say it's definitely the fonts that look like hand-drawn, hand-written calligraphy. So maybe I can show you what I mean. I've got an example here.
Give me a second. That show up on the screen.
So there's one, and here's another one. So these are kind of handwritten fonts, and they have that calligraphy look and feel to them. And so it's great that you can print them, but what I do, for example, I also sometimes handwrite on my designs, and especially on envelopes. Obviously, if you have so many invitations to send out, it's great to have some help and to get your stationery designer actually handwrite those envelopes, hand address them for you, and that way you're making sure that the envelopes look just as beautiful as the invitations. And it's a very trendy style of calligraphy, especially modern calligraphy.
Perfect, fantastic. And I think we've got one up on the screen as well. I think you actually were holding that little vows book on the screen just a moment ago. Heather's vows, they're absolutely beautiful. And we've got a lovely place card and the table number as well. Okie dokie, guys, any questions, any final questions before we finish up? Like I said, there is a little giveaway for yourselves right at the end of the session, so please bear with us for just a few more moments today as well. We've actually got a question, interested one. I'm not sure if you do that. Can you send our stationery if we're abroad?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I actually currently I'm working for a couple based in California, and I'll be sending their stationery next Monday. So yeah, I can send your stationery anywhere around the world, really.
That's amazing. I think that's a brilliant question, actually. Whoever asked the question today, thank you very much for that, because obviously with the current climate, a lot of couples, I'm actually planning a wedding for a couple in Myanmar, and they've already said to me I had swatches for them of not stationery, of table linens from a supplier, and we were planning on sending that, and they said not to send a regular post because it takes 2-3 months to arrive. There's only certain methods of postage that you can do, and majority of their guests are in the UK. So actually having somebody like yourself here that can take care of it all, oh my goodness me, what a wonderful opportunity.
Sure.
Fantastic, brilliant. Okay. We've got a question from Dawn. I'm just going to bring it up on the screen. I knew, Dawn, you were hiding some questions there as well. So Dawn is asking, do you find that most couples choose invitations that are going to set the theme for the wedding day, or have any just done something totally different? Good question.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Dawn. Yes, I would say that most couples do choose invitations to fit within the wedding theme. I do find it, however, that sometimes it seems to be the other way around, where the couples plan their stationery so far in advance that it's almost kind of together with planning the wedding theme. So it's not always a result of the existing wedding theme. Sometimes it's kind of the beginning of the design process for the wedding day and for its theme and color scheme, etc.
Brilliant, fantastic. That's this is actually quite interesting what you've just said, because the couple in Myanmar that I'm planning to win for at Dundas Castle, the first thing they've done, they've looked for samples of stationery, and when they set their heart on stationery, they send it to me and they said, this is the colors we're going for, this is the sort of linens we're going to be going with, this is the stationery we're going to be going with. That's our starting point. And I was like, actually, that's quite interesting, because it sets the theme for the rest of the wedding.
Yeah.
Have you done actually the couple that I'm doing the wedding for from Myanmar? They are planning on doing stationery on acrylics.
Yeah, and
Is that something that you do as well?
Yeah, you can get gold fold acrylics, and you mean the transparent ones, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And these can be sent. They can be sent in envelopes, but they can also be sent in special boxes to protect them in the postage and to add this extra level of elegance to when your guests receive an invitation in a box. It's really great. And yeah, definitely.
They had a brilliant design. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm saying that acrylics are also quite trendy at the moment, I would say, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they had a design for like a 6 edges kind of acrylic sitting on a kind of like a blush napkin over a golden charger plate. It looked beautiful. It just looked so stunning. So I think it's definitely quite a trend for wedding stationery at the minute as well. But it's great to know that you're quite flexible with the materials you work with. It's not just paper. So that's fantastic. Okay, guys. I think that's pretty much covered all the questions so far. It's been a brilliant interview. But before we get finished up for today, I just wanted to bring up on the screen my little guide. So this is the free giveaway for yourselves today. If you're looking to dramatically reduce the time you spend on your wedding planning, you can head over to the link up on the screen right now. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger, which is bit.ly/Oscar-mistakes-2-avoid. And if you pop your email there, you will get my 3-step guide to avoid mistakes made in wedding planning. It's an expert advice for busy wedding planning couples. It's those kind of mistakes that could save you time, but also save you plenty budget and protect you in your wedding planning as well. So I hope you find it useful, and if you're looking for a bit of advice, that's quite a starting point for yourself. In fact, actually on my website this week, I've uploaded a lot more downloadable download-based digital downloads resources for yourselves. So if you want to check it up on the website, you will have the link up on the website on the screen in just a moment as well. But if you're interested in a little bit of support with your wedding planning, I can support you in with one-off consultation that is particularly popular for couples who are maybe looking for one supplier sourcing or advice on their DIY wedding, or maybe even final details planning. One of the couples called it the sanity check, which I quite like to repeat with our couples these days as well. I can also support our couples with on-the-day coordination, particularly popular for the dry hire venues or those venues that don't offer a wedding coordinator on the day. I can be your right-hand man and guide you on the wedding day and make sure things happen as you've planned them out to be as well. And finally, I can also support you with full wedding planning, anything from venue sourcing, supplier sourcing, liaison with everyone, planning the entire wedding, and also being there on the day as well. So if that's something of interest to yourself, go ahead and book your 15-minute free consultation today. I'll bring up the contact details on the screen in just a moment as well. Before we finish up for today, I wanted to introduce our next guest speaker, Camille. Camille will be joining us from Weatherly House next Thursday, the 5th of November at 6 p.m. Camille has in fact run and delivered my own wedding 3 years ago, and I've been working with Camille for over 5-6 years now. She's an incredible and inspirational wedding manager, operationally looking after weddings and also planning weddings with wedding couples at Weatherly House as well, which is a new luxury and exclusive use venue in the Scottish borders. So I'm very much looking forward to hosting Camille for an interview with you guys next week. So if you've got any questions, make sure you send them across and join us next Thursday. That's 5th of November at 6 p.m. Pop that in your calendars today and we'll see you then as well. Finally, gives me great pleasure to thank Daria for joining us for the interview today. I'm actually going to bring up her contact details for you up on the screen as well. So you've got Daria's telephone number, email address, website, and the handles for social media channels as well. Daria is very active on social media, which is one of the reasons why I absolutely love and adore what she does, because I know exactly what she does and how she works, which is very inspirational. So if you want to check them out, make sure you follow Daria on social media channels as well. It's been fantastic, Daria, having you for the interview today. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we finish up, is there any final advice, any final remarks you would like to make for our audience today?
Yeah,
I've put you on the spot, haven't I?
I always tell my couples and newly engaged couples who reach out to me that it's really important to make sure that there's little personal touches included in your stationery, and this is something you will remember, and your guests will remember even years after your wedding. So yeah, just make it really you, and and that way your wedding day and the planning of it will be even more special for you.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much, Daria. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. Thank you very much for joining us today and giving up your hour for our wedding planning couples. I'm sure they've learned a lot about wedding stationery and plenty advice was given as well. If you guys have found it useful and helpful, make sure you comment in the comment box below. Give us a little love heart or a little yes. We'll make sure that we follow up with yourselves after the session is finished as well. If you're joining us on repeat, make sure you comment #repeat in the comment boxes below, and we'll make sure that we come back to any follow-on questions as well. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much to all of you for joining us today and engaging with the session today, and I'll see you next Thursday at 6 p.m. for an interview with Camille from Weatherly House. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Take care.
Thanks so much, Oscar. Bye.
Bye, guys.